Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes,
Here.
Councilmember Todd,
Here.
Councilmember Saper,
Here.
Councilmember Schneider,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Fitzgerald,
Here.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Here.
All right, this evening the pledge will be led by Councilmember Clark. All right, next item is the approval of agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, number 6, discussion, Northland Caps presentation. No, I skipped. Number 5, comments from the public. How about we try that? Comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please step up.
Hello, how's it going? I'm Zach Clevenger, 1028 East 24th Avenue. Just a couple of things tonight. First of all, want to compliment the downtown area again. Really pretty on the trees and the lights that were hung by the city and all the businesses and the residents now that have decorated. So congrats to all those. Secondly, I'm excited about the transportation discussion tonight. And, you know, I've always been in favor of the address-to-address or point-to-point service. And it's good to see that we've got some options. Looks like, if I am understanding correctly, you're looking at a 3-month contract to continue with the KCATA and then trying to decide on the other things. I know the fixed route service is a lot, but hopefully with some federal funds, that'll drop that. Just want to let you know how important at least the fixed route and the point-to-point or address-to-address is. So, you know, if we can bring that back, that'd be great. You know, me, myself, I don't mind paying a fare for the address-to-address for the flex route service like we had before. Depending on what it is, and, you know, different people have different economic situations. So just want to thank also all the council members that were on the committee for the Transportation Committee. I know you guys have had extra meetings on that, and so certainly appreciate the time you put into that. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Liz Ryan, 2417 Erie. I'm very much in support of the transportation because we have a lot of seniors that really depended on that bus. And we've had functions, you know, and of course, you know, you have problem parking. We do now, too, because they don't have a way. And I know several of them. I visit with them, the seniors, and they really miss that transportation to go to the doctor, to the grocery store, and just everything that we have for them. And I hope that we can work something out for them because they have a special place in my heart. Like I'm not one, you know. But anyway, and we had functions today, and some of them had to walk, and it was cold. And I just wish you'd really consider it. I appreciate it.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you. Further public comments? Good evening.
David Johnson, 104 Armor, Max's Properties in Chicken and Pickle. I just came here tonight. I know you guys are giving due consideration to the YMCA and saying what a special organization it is in Kansas City. And most hopeful you guys can work out something with them. They've done a great job there. And a guy like me has a fear of the unknown coming in there if you decide to try other things. So as we all know, it's a first-class organization. I've worked with for many years. We give funds to, and I would appreciate your highest consideration of if we can find a way to keep them in our great city of North Kansas City. Also, one compliment, I don't compliment staff too often, but Kim set a new world's record for response to me. She and Tom usually get back to me within a day, and I got a response within 5 minutes on an email tonight, so thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Further public comments? Good evening.
Hi there. Hi there. I know many of you. I got to speak a couple of weeks ago. My name is Julie Sola. I'm the Senior Vice President and General Manager of Harris Casino. I, too, just want to say a few words about the YMCA and your consideration for keeping that in North Kansas City. I have been a proud employee in North Kansas City for the past 26 years, and I recall when the community center was built. I've been around that long. I also remember when it was turned into the YMCA. In 2016, I was asked by Tina Weaver, many of you know her, to join the mission board of the YMCA in North Kansas City, of which I did, and I proudly served for 5 years. During our time, we also went through the pandemic during that time, and there's so many things that I'm very proud of that we participated in. We had a community garden. We have the Best Buy Teen Tech Center. We implemented a food pantry, many of which some of my team members actually have utilized. We have a mobile food pantry. They held a naturalization ceremony in their gym and so much more. I was in awe during the pandemic that the Y didn't shy away from really jumping in and being a great community partner by offering services to essential workers through childcare. They also helped individuals with distant learning for those parents that had to work. I always grew up knowing the YMCA was a gym and swim. My 2 young daughters learned to swim at the North Kansas City Y. I never knew that it was so much more than that. And, clearly it holds, a special place in my heart. Our team members volunteer on Fridays at the mobile food pantry. They just won a Spirit of Service Award from the North Kansas City Y and were just recently recognized. And they just show up. And those are all really important things in our community. So I just wanted to share, some personal stories because of the YMCA and the naturalization ceremony that they held. We now hold those at Harrah's where we donate our space, and 4 times a year, people become citizens of our great country. And it's something that would not have happened without the introduction from the YMCA. So, we're getting ready to celebrate our 30th anniversary just down the street. I know the YMCA isn't that far behind, and we just wanted to share that we're a proud supporter of the YMCA and, hope you guys are able to work something out. So, thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments? Seeing none. Now we will go on to what I was trying to do before, Northland CAP's presentation. Who is leading that? Good evening.
Good evening. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. My name is Brendan Crutchfield. Oh, wait. I'll wait.
Oh,
There we go.
is there a presentation with this too, or just? Unless you're ready to talk about transportation.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We haven't prepared that one, but
Hey, we got to leverage all help we get. Something.
Do I just give you guys the cue when to switch slides? Okay. All right.
Perfect. I think now we're on what?
All right, we good?
There we go.
All right. My name is Brendan Crutchfield, the project manager for the former Cerner Vacant World Headquarters project. Our goal was to repurpose, this vacant area in North Kansas City. As many of you know, it's a huge campus, a lot of empty space, and we're trying to figure out ways to better North Kansas City by utilizing that property. I'm introducing my team here. This is...
I'm Molly Tuhig.
I'm Luke Meredith.
Delaney Harbarker.
I'm William Sanchez.
Without further ado, let's hop right in. So as you can see here, there's a map. This is just to give you guys a mental representation on what's kind of going on. On the left-hand side, you can see North Kansas City Hospital, just so you can kind of tell where everything is. Just a little background on this property. It's comprised of approximately 10 buildings that consists over 1.5 million square feet, and evidently there's a lot of empty space, like I mentioned. So we are trying to come up with concepts. So on the next slide, we came up with our top 2 ideas. So idea number 1 is a mini community that consists of 5 sub-ideas, which we'll touch on in the next slide. And idea number 2 is a college expansion, which Molly's going to touch on.
So with the idea with the college expansion is you have the ability to have one person buy the whole space versus with the mini community, the idea is that each one could be leased individually because we know that sometimes it's hard to find funding for something that big. We also had the opportunity to talk with a lot of different people, including Nick Riesenberg, who helped us a lot with come up with a lot of the concepts of our ideas, along with a real estate commercial broker and Kevin Countryman, who is one of the managers of that space right now that Oracle owns. So next we will talk about our ideas within the mini community.
So within the mini community, I'm going to break down these 5 ideas pretty briefly. So idea number 1 is an extended hospital unit. Idea number 2 is a restaurant/event space. Idea number 3 is a 360 sports complex. Idea number 4 is assisted living and housing. And idea number 5 is a co-working space. On the next slide, we'll talk about the extended hospital unit. So as you guys know, North Kansas City Hospital is extremely close to the campus. There's 3 buildings that I've heard discussion on potentially buying just those 3 buildings, whether that's for, expanded apartment, add a quick clinic, just storage space, anything like that. But we are seeing the pros currently being the existing transportation network and the current infrastructure would be pretty suitable in terms of electricity and plumbing. But the major con on this is it has to comply with regulatory standards and it has to fit the existing infrastructure of a hospital's needs.
Our next idea is a restaurant and event space, which we believe could act as an anchor for this area to bring people in and bring a community for people to enjoy their time in North Kansas City. One con with this idea is a possibility of rezoning because these buildings are not currently being used for restaurant and event spaces.
The next idea we have on the next slide is a 360 sports complex. And we heard you guys talking a lot about the YMCA, but something that we want to do is create something that attracts all types of ages, not just people who are going to work out, but also things like pickleball that attracts all types of ages, and batting cages or golf simulators so people can use it during all seasons of the year. The only con with this is the equipment that has to be moved in there. It can be relatively expensive, but that kind of comes with repurposing a space.
All right, next we have the assisted living and housing. So with this, it works in with the other ideas because they'll draw in people of all ages from the grandchildren to the grandparents. So with this, the major pro is that, I'm sorry, that's on me. The major con with this is that there'll have to be a lot of redesigning so it can fit everyone, from seniors to grandchildren.
So our final idea for this mini community is a co-working space. So think of a space like the iWork Center, but this will be on a larger scale. And this will bring a lot of businesses and economic growth for North Kansas City. The only con is that, as many of you know, since COVID, there's been a lot of less need for office space. So yeah.
And then on the next slide, we'll start talking about this college campus idea. So the idea with this is to incorporate something like Missouri S&T or Washington University in St. Louis. On the next slide, it has some pros and cons. So we know that the geography is really nice, and then we know that there's been a lot of reach towards Missouri S&T to incorporate some space by Clay County. The biggest problem with this is that there is already competition here with UMKC. But with something like WashU, it's a completely different idea. It is a private college, so something that is different than UMKC that we already have. And also they have a really large endowment fund already. So funding could be something very possible if their mission seems to fit ours. The benefit of creating a college campus here is it creates the fundamental future for the workforce. So having people here already learning how to work, and then I know a lot of my friends and a lot of students get hired right out of college to work in the area that they went to college to. So growing our economy and building a future for our economy, having a college here, especially with students very passionate about school and passionate about the workforce at something like a private college.
Just to kind of summarize everything, as you guys can see, all these ideas kind of come together and play off of each other. The assisted living creates a generational foundation for the area. The grandchildren will come, pickleball, elderly people, being near a hospital, they all kind of play off each other, shopping district, things like that. It'll just kind of ignite something new in North Kansas City that we feel will be heavily beneficial. But yeah, thank you guys for your time. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. What questions does council have this evening? There we go, Councilmember Smith.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. The pocket squares look phenomenal.
I appreciate it.
Great call with those. Mini community, very interesting. How do you see that setting up from an ownership structure? Would you see a master developer buying it all, leasing out parcels? You mentioned leasing. So talk to me about that.
We know that it's difficult for somebody to buy a whole entire space. So I think that there's 2 options. I know that sometimes there's people who are just really passionate about an area, and you get lucky and you can find those people who have a lot of money. But I think that the other idea, because that is kind of a luck thing that you fall into, the other idea is to get different people to lease them out individually rather than buying it as a whole. Who did we talk to? About real estate.
Richard Lanning.
Yes, we talked to Richard Lanning about real estate, and so.
Yeah, just to kind of touch on what Molly said, she pretty much hit the nail right on the head, but we talked with Kevin Countryman, who is the project manager for Oracle, which obviously you guys know bought out that area. So he kind of approved and denied some of our ideas, but we think that, like she said, North Kansas City Hospital buying those 3 neighboring buildings and then the restaurant and event space, that's all kind of for the future. We would have to obviously do some research on who would be buying specific stuff, but we definitely think splitting and divvying it up would be the most feasible option unless there is like a whale that would be willing to buy the whole property.
Since you mentioned conversations with Oracle, do they plan on actually listing this property anytime soon?
We had nobody confirm nor deny when we talked to. I'm sure that's shocking, but when we talked to
I
Kevin
got some
Countryman,
of those same emails.
right? When we talked to Kevin Countryman, he heavily implied that our ideas are not out of reach.
Yeah.
So.
Perfect. And on the education side, did you talk to some education partners regarding?
Sorry?
Did you talk to some of the college partners, the education partners that could?
Have we, or?
Yeah, did you?
We haven't
For
yet
this,
because
okay.
it's one of those things where we didn't want to reach out to anybody unless we knew for sure it was happening.
Okay.
But we have heard from Mr. Groves. He talked about that there has been some outreach from Clay County to Missouri S&T. And
Okay,
so-
okay. No, I'm just curious
Yeah.
on what all the scope was. Perfect. I don't have any further questions or comments. I mean, I appreciate the ideas and seeing this laid out like this, and I agree there's a lot of different things we could do up there.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Number 7, Northland Assistance Center discussion. Who am I calling on this one? We will go right to Rita Pierce. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Rita Pierce. I'm the Executive Director of Northland Assistance Center. And I'm here to present information on the monies that we've already spent with the grant. And I'm also going to speak about services not considered in the newest MOU and how we might move forward from that. So the good news is that we got the MOU right in time before the cold weather. So we had 94 room nights since November 8th to the end of November. I'm going to report monthly in regard so it doesn't get all glommed together. So I'll report at the end of each month, at the beginning, the first council meeting. So 94 room nights, which average about $52.55 a night, which is completely reasonable. We house 21 adults, 4 children, and 6 seniors. In addition to that, Northland Assistance Center provided over $1,000 in food to these individuals. Everyone who checks into the hotel receives food so they can eat while they're at the hotel. They have microwaves and they have refrigerators. We also provided personal supplies. The hotel provides some basic needs, but we expanded upon that and gave them all personal supplies. Also things like paper plates and bowls and utensils, because those are not in the rooms. And then our board, members of our board, including myself, donated money so they could do laundry while they're staying there. Most of these individuals stayed for a week because the cold weather came in, and it's cheaper to put them in for a week than it is to put them in for 5 days. So it makes sense to give them the compassion and the ability to kind of regroup and get their clothes clean and eat. And we provided laundry and detergent. We leave it with the front desk, and they dole it out for us. Any questions in regard to that?
Any questions? No. Oh, sorry. Councilmember Snyder.
Breaking down from the 94 rooms to the other supplies given, what part of that is coming from the city funds? Because you're reporting on funds that. So
I
what-
am. As I indicated, Northland Assistance Center pays for the additional funds. We provide those services. They're not part of the grant monies.
Okay, so
We
we're
rely
talking
on donations and monies from other parties. We stick strictly to the grant itself.
Do we know that, I guess it's all weather dependent kind of, but do we know what that looks like year over year, like last November? compared
Oh, I
to
didn't
this
compare it to
November?
last November, but I know for a fact we had the MOU in October, as I recall, and the weather turned right away. And you guys granted $10,000, and I was before you in less than a month,
Yeah.
asking for more money.
Okay.
It was a really cold year last year,
Yeah.
and we housed a number of people.
Councilmember Smith.
Yep. So how much of I can't do math that fast. How much of the grant was used in November?
Well, we have $28,500 in grant money, because you take $1,500 for administrative.
Yep.
So, just deduct about $5,000 from that.
Yep.
That'll give you a ballpark.
So we used 5,000 in November.
And I think in December, not this week, obviously, but next week, we'll be housing people again. I've never spent so much time watching the weather in my entire life. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I try to be really responsible with the funding. Everybody says, well, what does the temperature have to be?
Yeah.
That is variable. It's not a matter of temperature. The good news is I live in North Kansas City, and I walk my dog at 5:30 in the morning and at night, so I have a pretty good idea of whether it's going to be cold enough that people need shelter or not. Really, I can only go on that.
Further questions on this aspect? Councilmember Stokes.
I don't think we ever talked about collecting this data, so I don't know if you would have it, but what percentage or how many would you say are the same people over and over? Is it 100% new people every time, or would it be a lot of the same people, or just kind of wondering?
That's a really good question, because for this particular piece that we've already done, we've had a lot of new people. I think what happens is that the word gets out, but not to the point that it's become overwhelming. Just kind of locally, the word gets out. We have probably a core of about 10 people all the time. Now, I don't know, Councilmember Stokes, what it's going to look like with this next group, because we have had so many new people. So we did 21 families or households for this particular piece that I'm sharing with you now. I suspect that many of them will come back now that they know these services are available. It is really difficult to say. This is a population that's migratory. So, but to answer your question, we did have a lot of new people, if that helps.
Councilmember Clark.
How many people per room? Do you ever group up strangers in one
No, never.
room? So
Never.
there could be one guy that gets
There
his
can.
whole room?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's dangerous to put people together that don't know each other. We would not want that liability, and neither would the hotel, frankly.
Councilmember Smith.
So you mentioned, walking your dog and feeling what it feels like outside. I seem to remember, was last year's MOU different? I think there was a cutoff temperature, like where it actually triggered the funding. Is that something, I don't remember it from this one specifically.
There is not one in this one.
Okay. Okay, appreciate
It
it.
just indicates cold weather.
Cold weather.
All right. Any further questions on this? No. Okay.
Okay, in
Okay.
regard to the second part of the discussion, which I didn't know I would be talking about tonight, but the services that are no longer considered as they were in the original MOU, we will continue to provide short-term emergency lodging as referrals come in from our emergency responders and from hospitals. We will pay them out of agency funding until I find other funding sources, which I'm actively seeking at this time. I would like to reiterate, because it's come up time and time again, the Harris grant monies cannot be spent in this area. I apply for the grant monies under social services. They're restricted to people who live in North Kansas City. This is a migrant population. It would be very difficult to distinguish that they have a permanent residence in North Kansas City. So I apply for rent and utility funding for North Kansas City residents only. I will seek other grant sources that can provide for services that are no longer considered in this MOU. Both our board president and I have explained to you that residency is hard to establish.
I guess I'm going to ask staff a question on that. Is there some sort of resolution or agreement with Harris that I guess specifically lays out it's only for North Kansas City residents? I wasn't sure where to
My understanding
look.
from the agreement is that they have to show how it benefits people of North Kansas City. So like we give money to people, to organizations that aren't in North Kansas City, that they have to show how it benefits the residents of North Kansas City.
Yep.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that's what. Okay, Councilmembers.
Yeah, and thank you for clarifying that, Rita. That has been a disconnect for me, and I'm sure I brought it up a handful of times because exactly that. It doesn't have to be only for, now, if that's how you're applying for it, I appreciate you sticking to what you applied for. But I think as you ready this round of applications, consider that as long as it's benefiting people of North Kansas City, it could also be used. And then the other side of that is during the census, population of North Kansas City is considered those who are in North Kansas City at the time. So when a transient population comes into North Kansas City, technically, they become part of North Kansas City, at least in my view. So I don't know if there's a legal snafu with that. You see you grabbing your face. Okay, good. So something to think about as we go forward with those grants.
May I respond to
Sure.
Councilmember Smith's comments? And I apply, there are several categories you apply under. I have been applying under social services since I've been with the agency. Our agency's policy and what our understanding is that these monies that are generated from Harrah's are to benefit our residents. And when I apply for these grants, and you can apply however you want, I specifically apply to take care of rent and utilities for North Kansas City residents. That's a choice I make, and that's my understanding under social services how it should be. I would prefer not to broaden that. I will find other funding sources, and I'm sure that I will. I have already sent in my application for Harrah's. I sent it in the day after I got it. That's what I do. And so I'm not going to rescind an application just because I didn't receive funding that I had anticipated. So I'm going to seek other funding resources. And I've already got a couple of things in the work. I'm just not, at a position to talk about it. If the council would like, when I do find another funding resource for these items, I'd be happy to come and tell you about it. And I'll just do it in a conversational way. We don't have to put it on the agenda. I'll just come by. I live and work down here, so I'll just come and tell you about it.
You're not hard to find.
Not hard to find.
All right, what else do we have on this item here? Is there nothing for now? All right, then I think we'll conclude
Okay,
this
thank you.
item.
I will
Thank
see you next month. You all have a wonderful
Yes,
holiday.
thank you. You as well. Thank you. Number 8, YMCA presentation, which I believe this evening will be presented. There we go. Good evening. How are you?
Mayor. Move that back just a little bit. All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Mark Hewlett. I am the President and CEO of the YMCA of Greater Kansas City. Behind me, I have Caleb Cooper, who is our Chief Operating Officer, and Andrea Toney, who is our Executive Director for the North Kansas City. Everybody wave to Andrea. She's made it back, yes. So my 24th year in Kansas City with the YMCA. A good portion of my time with the YMCA has been in partnerships and collaborations and operations. I stepped back to my time in the early days, in the early 2000s, with partnerships in Platte County, developing that partnership from an operating standpoint to Miami County, continuing the path with Lee Summit, and then a lot of collaborative work with healthcare systems, like North Kansas City Hospital is one of those, and many, many school districts. And then there's the city of North Kansas City. I can actually recall in the mid-2000s of having conversations with past leaders in your seats about the YMCA and a partnership and the operating of the North Kansas City Community Center at the time. And it was about a 10-year pursuit until about 2015 when, again, almost 9 years ago, we began this partnership. The YMCA is proud of all of our partnerships, and North Kansas City has a unique impact at certain levels that the folks behind me are going to talk about, so I'm not going to steal their thunder. But from an operating excellence and an operating sustainability model to some abundant and unique services and programs that we're able to offer here in North Kansas City, but they all fulfill the Y mission, and that's to be for all, access for all. That is a primary mission and purpose of the Y, to provide access for all. Success, though, that we've had is not by chance. I think the Y is uniquely positioned, not only from an expertise, but an experience standpoint. We've been in this Kansas City area, in this metro, for 164 years. We're one of the oldest YMCAs in the country. We're proud of our service, not only to the greater metro, but our younger partnerships like we have in North Kansas City. We value this relationship. We would love to continue to see that happening and look forward to continued service in North Kansas City. I think I'm going to turn it over to Andrea Toney. All right. Thank you all for your time.
Hi, for those of you I've not met, I'm Andrea Toney. I am proud to be the executive director here at the North Kansas City YMCA. So I'm going to tell you tonight about a little bit that you may not know about the Y. Kind of like how Julie, when she was talking, said, I thought it was a gym and swim until I found out it's really a whole lot more. So Mark mentioned that the Y is open for access to all and how we're welcoming to all. So since we began our partnership in 2015, we have distributed over $1.8 million in scholarships to those here through the North Kansas City YMCA to make sure that those who are not able to pay our stated fees are still able to come in, utilize the YMCA, our services, whether that be swim lessons, our ESL programming, our summer camps. We are able to scholarship our programs to make sure that all are able to join us. We've helped 31,499 people with that $1.8 million. Also, we are helping address food insecurity here in North Kansas City. So since we began doing food distribution to help with food insecurity, we have been able to donate out over 459,000 pounds of food here in our local community to over 102,000 people. Let me tell you, those numbers, as we talk about over the past 8 years, they are growing. This year alone, we've donated over 140,000 pounds of food in 2023 to we have over 35,000 people this year alone who have received food from the YMCA. So as we saw with COVID happen, and then prices right now at the grocery stores and across the metro are going up, we are serving more and more people each year. We are thankful to people like Harris, who comes out and donates their time and their talents for us through the mobile food drive. We're grateful to companies like Garney, who just in the last month was able to run electricity and water to our greenhouse for us so that we are able to continue growing food throughout the winter through our greenhouse. We have a community garden on site. All of that food goes straight back into our pantry, which gets distributed to our community every single day. So a lot of partners, harvesters is a big part of that. We have partners that we work with to make sure that North Kansas City residents and those who frequent the area are taken care of when it comes to food. Almost 12,000 kids have learned life-saving skills in the water at the YMCA since the YMCA began our partnership in 2015. We're currently averaging about 200 kids a month who are coming in. We talk about not just being swim lessons, but with drowning being a primary cause of death for children across the nation, every swim lesson we teach saves lives. We don't know what life we're saving, but we know every time we get kids in that water, we are saving lives because they are partaking in a swim lesson. In addition to just doing swim lessons at the Y, we help other partners. We recently worked with the North Kansas City Fire Department and had a couple of their shifts come over, and we helped work with them on how to pull people out of the water safely when people go under. There was a drowning here in North Kansas City over the summer, and we were able to work with the fire department to get them the training on how to properly use the backboards and how the team could safely, without injuring themselves as well, get people out of bodies of water. So we're more than just teaching swim lessons and doing water fitness and bringing people together. We're able to work with other partners across the city. We just skipped over really quick, but we are, since we started summer camp out of the YMCA here in North Kansas City, we have had 1,162 kids go through our summer camp, where we also address summer learning loss and have items geared every single day toward helping prevent that education gap over the summer for the kids. This summer, we were even able to add in weeks where grandparents who are now raising their grandchildren, and many times on fixed income, every week we reserve 10 spaces in our summer camp to offer free summer camp for kids whose grandparents are raising them who would not be able to afford to send their kids to camp, to give those grandparents a week break over the summer. So trying to find innovative ways to really help reach the people here in this community. You can go next slide. So every month we have over 3,000 seniors who are coming into our Y. We're about serving all age groups from birth till well over 100 in the doors of our Y. So we see over 3,000 seniors coming through our doors. We also know that social isolation is a big thing right now. COVID hit hard, and it made people become even more isolated, especially that at-risk population. We are making nearly 500 phone calls a month to those that we have not seen come in our doors, to call them, ask if they are okay, invite them in, see what services they may need that we can connect them to. We began a teen tech center. Julie talked about this a little bit too, where we have partnered with Best Buy nationally, where we have a teen tech center. We are teaching STEAM activities and skills to teenagers in this community. When North Kansas City High School gets out of school for the day, we know, because they come see us. And so we have been able to do some really neat, innovative ideas. We now have a recording studio inside the Y. We are doing things with 3D printers. We are making items with Cricut machines, doing some screen printing, doing a lot of different computer skills. We also have had over 100 mentors come and help these teenagers. So we are bringing people together. We're bringing, they get more than the STEAM skills. They're receiving mentorship every single day. And we talk about choices and how those choices can impact them in the future. We recently had someone come back who has received a football scholarship to play in college. He said, I never dreamed I would go to college until I met Tang. And Tang told me I could do it. And now he has a scholarship and is going to college in California because of the mentorship he received with our Teen Tech Center at the Y. We talk about what a diverse community we are here in North Kansas City, and we have had 516 new immigrants come through our new American Welcome Center and are taking our ESL classes through the Y. I brought just a couple because I cannot say it better than they can, but this is the impact ESL has on us. This class has helped me very much to be able to talk to my kids' teachers. That was from Claudia. My name is Maria Hernandez. I live in USA for 25 years. I wanted to learn English. People in the YMCA told me about classes, the English. I study English, and it's important to me to be able to communicate. This is more than a gym and swim. This is what I see every single day. This is what we breathe every single day, is doing activities like this at the Y. The last piece that I will talk about is that at our YMCA, we currently employ 6 full-time associates, 115 part-time associates year-round, plus an additional 12 day camp associates during the summer. All of these people are spending money in North Kansas City every day. I buy lunch in North Kansas City. I do some shopping in North Kansas City. We spend our money here, even if we don't live inside the city limits. So it does bring an impact financially across the city of North Kansas City. And I am going to turn it over to Caleb, who is our Chief Operating Officer for YMCA of Greater Kansas City. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. Just to wrap up here, I think, and I'm, I guess, about 2 months here into Kansas City from Virginia. I've worked for the Y for over 20 years. I've had the pleasure of working with several cities and incredible partners to do things just like this, where we talk about partnerships, we talk about ways to improve them, we talk about impact. And so I wanted to kind of close us out this evening to talk, and just to say something, and again, my experience has shown me that, you know, there are costs that are required to operate buildings, but buildings are just buildings. And as you can see from some of the things that Andrea shared, we're doing so much more within those walls. And it's really about realizing dreams, making statements, and creating spaces where life happens for families. And you heard a few of those stories. And without the ability and the partnership here, we might have been, you know, not able to really make that impact with folks. And so a building is just a building, but our job is to really make those dreams come true and to provide a space to do that. Of course, buildings that are heavily utilized also require additional resources. And we feel like that this North Kansas City building is heavily utilized. You can see, again, the numbers, the data, but it does require significant investment because those spaces are used by people every single day, and we're very proud of that piece. You can see 1.3 million visits since 2015, and that's a lot of folks. That's a lot of usage every day, holidays, day and night. You can see, again, 7,500 members staying active and building connections there within the Y. What we rate all of our locations using a format or a survey evaluation tool you may be familiar with, which is called the NPS or Net Promoter Score. And what we do is we send this to members, and as a part of that process, they have an instant ability to give us feedback, and that's where we've scored this year overall from the 300 surveys we've done from folks that use that facility, a rating of excellent. And then a few of the grants that we have used that help us provide the impact and the work. So you can see those on the screen, but again, very, very, very proud of those. And again, it takes a great partnership to be able to deliver. Pause for any questions at this time, but appreciate the opportunity to share.
Perfect. Appreciate the presentation. Thank you. Questions? Here we go. Councilmember Snyder.
The survey that you referenced, I didn't know if you had any more details about what our YMCA scored really high in, and maybe if there was any collective agreement on something that could be improved.
I have the pleasure of reading each one of these each day. So, and let me tell you, with the Net Promoter Score, we do send to every single member twice a year, so everyone has opportunity to give us feedback. Some of the comments that we're seeing where we're scoring extremely high on are our staffing, the friendliness, the variety of things that we offer, especially a lot of our social, like our teen tech, our food, a place that everyone feels welcome, and a place for everybody and their family to come. The places where we are currently seeing our struggles are where we are having things that are that need maintenance, quite frankly. Our gym, as everybody knows, it's beautiful. It just opened back up from having our gym floor replaced, but we were down for a little bit of time to make that happen. On some of our items, we were just able to replace LED lighting in our pool, but some of those items, or the spa, we had to recently have our spa closed for a lengthy period of time as it was being repaired and maintenanced, and to put in the UV lighting in that. We got a lot of responses and feedback on that. But again, that goes to show the usage that happens every single day. And when items that they want to use are down, even though it's for improvement of the overall facility, when things are not up and running, they're missed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further comments? Councilmember Smith.
Not really a question, but just a thank you in general to the YMCA and everything that you represent. I spent a lot of time growing up in YMCAs in Georgia, and it's a phenomenal organization. So just general thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm honored to have the opportunity to get to serve.
There you go, Councilmember Saber.
You mentioned there were down times.
Sure.
How many days were that for the gym, for the swimming pool, and so forth?
So our gym.
In the last year.
In the last year. So our gym, when we had the floor replacement, it actually moved a lot quicker than we anticipated, but it was still down for about 2.5 weeks as we were able to have the flooring completely overhauled. Our spa most recently was closed for about a month, as we had to close it because our chemicals couldn't be balanced with the chemicals we had to put in UV, and we were working with the health department as well as getting the parts ordered. The time it took to get them ordered and the parts to arrive and then get installed, it was down for about a month.
A further question would be,
Sure.
It seems like the pool has been down for a period of time or not used. What's going on there?
The pool is not down.
Or not used?
So the pool is closed in the middle of the afternoon for a couple hours each afternoon. That's really the only time that it is down. That timing in the middle of the afternoon, there's a couple reasons behind that. Number one is that was the least utilized time of day. So many times during the middle of the afternoon, you may not have any swimmers. You may have one swimmer. You may have two swimmers come in. And as we had to look at the best utilization of the resources that we have, we know that lifeguards, there's been national shortage of lifeguards over the last handful of years. And as we have to strategically place the lifeguards, that is the time where many times we didn't have any swimmers. It also, our pool, as I mentioned, we're seeing about 200 people just in swim lessons. I would tell you we're probably seeing another 200 people a day in that pool minimum. We need to clean that pool. So the best time for us, it is cleaned every night at close, but we also are able to close it, clean every afternoon. During that couple-hour gap, we are able to get in there and clean that pool so that it is staying safe, healthy, chemicals are staying balanced during the time. So there's a lot of strategy behind the reasoning it is closed at that time. Again, staffing, financial, cleanliness, safety of the water.
Thank you. Further comments? Nope, seeing none. Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it and appreciate the work you all do.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next item is number 9, Public Transportation Services RFP Committee Update. Are we?
Shu, if you're able to set it up for me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm going to kind of give a brief overview of what has happened over the last couple of months and then kind of open it up to broader council discussion. So next slide, Shu. Just a quick overview of kind of some of the work that has been conducted over the last couple of months. The RFP was issued back in September. The proposals were due in late October. There were quite a few interviews, lots of follow-up questions, lots of follow-up sessions by the governing body Transportation Committee, which kind of brings us up here today. Our hope would be that there would be some kind of formal action taken at the next council meeting. So some of the services requested, and this kind of comes off of previous city council conversations, is that the hours of operation were from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., user-friendly experience, insurance of accessibility for all, minimize missed trips, and detailed reports. Kind of some of the other ones that we left it open to a transportation expert to help us kind of understand what would be a best fit for the city would be point-to-point versus zone-to-zone, schedule fixed routes, multi-agency connectivity, any kind of alternates or partnerships that they may be able to provide us. So we proactively contacted 13 different agencies. We received three RFPs, and the 3 that we received are kind of listed there, and we had 1 contract negotiation. Our current contract allows for a contract negotiation. So kind of after all of that work, and again, I'm high glossing over lots and lots and lots of hours, a lot of data collected, a lot of conversations. The committee kind of deemed that negotiations with KCATA was the best course. So some of the conversations that we'll be opening it up for broader conversation, we do have representatives from KCATA as well as WHC or IRIS here, should the City Council have any questions, specific technical questions for them. On-demand, $2 fares is kind of where the committee had landed, that those should be for point-to-point or address-to-address service. Some of the questions for you to consider is that service to be delivered by IRIS, or is that to be delivered by the restoration of the Flex minibus service? For fixed route, although Kansas City, Missouri's contract does not allow for restoration of fare, nor Kansas City, should there ever be an opportunity to have a broader conversation about fare throughout the metro for fixed rate, I think that the committee would like to have that conversation. And what is the continuation of Route 201 and Route 238? The next one is, here is kind of, I call this kind of your menu. For you to consider. The fixed route services are listed there. They are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for both routes, and that is the dollar value. This is for a 12-month contract, as well as the ADA paratransit. That's something that KCATA can kind of hit on more broadly, but that is a requirement for this style of service. So the total value for that in a 12-month contract would be $412,014. That is before any federal funding, grant funding offset would be applied to that. Since they don't have a dollar value and they haven't done their calculations, they kind of said that could be upwards of 33%. For the more on-demand or point-to-point, the Intra-City Metro On-Demand Iris service for a one vehicle that is much more of a zone-to-zone, which would be $197,702. And then the dispatch is $48,000 annual, which brings the one car on-demand service up to $245,702. That particular vendor does recommend two-car solution for this community and to be able to provide point-to-point service. So kind of you can read that it pretty much is a doubling of the fees for one car. One of the other things that KCATA has provided is the restoration of the Flex minibus service is an option, which would be, again, a restoration of what was discontinued midway through the year last year, and the annual fee for that would be $395,280. So this is kind of where I'm going to leave it off. Shu, if you can leave this particular slide where it is, that way the governing body can kind of look at those dollar values and be able to have more of an informed conversation. Again, we do have representatives from KCATA for more specific questions.
If these
Question.
are,
Sorry,
if
Councilmember
these
Smith.
are 12-month contracts that we're looking at, can you remind us what we have budgeted for 12 months? Because previously we were looking at shorter terms.
Absolutely. So on the, I know that it would require you to toggle. So in the fiscal year 2024 budget authority, there is $505,873. Again, the fiscal year and the calendar years don't quite line up. So we are projecting that we would expend down $60,000 of that to the end of December, leaving a remaining budget authority from January to September for $445,873. So this is kind of an annual thing where, because both of our agencies have different budget years, you kind of have this 9-month, 3-month thing that you kind of have to be cognizant of.
Further comments, questions? What do we got? There we go. Councilmember Smith.
Okay. So I'm looking at the numbers, and the numbers for fixed route, we'll start at the top, have jumped wildly. We've had some discussions at KCATA. We started at the top when we were first introduced to the new contract world of $2.2 million. I believe that included the very early version of IRIS or some sort of curb-to-curb solution. That was then cut in half based on a miles plus hours divided by 2, so to 1.1 million, and now we're down to 412,000, including paratransit, which I believe originally was going to be funded through KCATA. All of this to say, I still haven't, and I've asked a number of times, I haven't seen the actual base calculation for this, where we talk about what miles plus hours means and what is included in the cost for miles plus hours. I've asked for it. This will be a dozen or more times, and I don't know what it's going to take to get that in front of us in a spreadsheet. It was discussed at another meeting that there were a number of different simulations run. Miles plus hours was one, miles plus hours divided by 2, average per rider, and a number of other things were looked at, and this is the one that was decided by the board, and it wasn't really clear why. The best I could get was that it was the biggest number that was going to be brought to the city, and then I guess we could work from there. Additionally, I watched some of the Gladstone proposition, so Gladstone being the closest enclave city proxy to us. And could somebody from KCATA, if you have it handy, remind me what Gladstone's fixed route proposal was that they rejected, but what was their number for fixed route?
I'm here from KCHA. Hi, I'm Bryce Shields. With
Hey, Bryce.
KCHA. Hi again.
Hey, how we doing?
Welcome back.
I apologize. I don't have that in front of me, and it has been about 6 months.
Yeah,
since
it's been a
we
minute.
issued, yeah.
Do you have a ballpark for what their fixed routes were?
It was, they had more miles and hours than North Kansas City.
Right.
So it was higher than North Kansas City's.
But it wasn't higher. That's the trouble I was having.
It was 340?
340 at 6 months. That was a 6-month contract, and that was it just fixed route at 340, or was that fixed route plus Iris? Because I remember the big number was somewhere in the 300s, but I didn't know if that included Iris. Because they kicked off the fixed route and went Iris only. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have the details in front of me.
That's fine. I guess what I'm struggling with is when the pitch was made to Gladstone, it was a 6-month number at $340,000. When it came to us, it was $2.2 million, and then it came back off. It went off and then on and back off, but it was a much higher number for a smaller zone than what Gladstone was looking at. And I can't make those numbers work in my head.
So
I'm not sure if you are. I see the expression.
Yes, I was gonna say, if you want to step up to the mic so everyone can hear you as well.
I'm really confused by
Okay.
your 2.2 number. That's probably for the entire route.
That was for the 201, the 238.
Not just in North Kansas City, no.
That was our number. It
Do
was
we-
the top line numbers.
Do you know when that was? I couldn't find that.
It was about this. It was a little before the Gladstone meeting, so it was about 7 months ago, and it came to us with a top line number before. This was before CARES funds. This was before any of the ARPA numbers, but the top line might have been 2.102 or something like that.
For reference, 2.1 million for you all at about 25%, 30% use, or what runs through here for a 201, 238.
Mhm.
But I mean, the route costs over $8 million. Prospect Max costs $10 million. If that number came to you, that would be for the entire 201 route. There's no way that's North Kansas City share.
So it came to us, and then the way it was couched is, well, it's going to be this big number. Then we're going to knock off a bunch of CARES and ARPA funds. We're going to do the 50% off of that because of the cost share between KCATA and paying our fair share. And it came out, it shook down to roughly $1.1 million, or 1.05 is the number that's sticking in my head. And then we knocked off all those ARPA numbers, and it came down to a very reasonable bottom line. But our concern was when ARPA and CARES go away, what would we be stuck with? And so that was the number. It was the top line of 1 point. Kim's trying to pull it up.
I have a document from you, Kim, on 4/12/2023, titled KCATA contract, and it does come to 2.1, but I'm not sure what makes that.
So this was this is when we were in contracting with the city, and we were coming to a determination based on what was the enclave service agreement.
Right.
Because you all considered enclave service agreement.
Yep.
We were able to get the city to come to an agreement, and the number in the agreement we came to is actually the lower number of all the options that we had.
Okay.
So what you see on the screen there is the same contractual rates that you have today. Not even the 5% bump on salary that we're paying to our drivers. That is the same contractual rates reduced to 12 hours from 18 hours on the 201 and the 238.
Yeah, knocked down from 6 to 6.
Right, from 6 to yeah.
The trouble I'm still having is seeing the numbers jump around like they have. To go from, like, as you're saying, if it would be crazy to pitch us $2.1 million because of the total value of the route. And that's kind of what we said when it came to us, like, this is crazy, but it was emphatically the number. And then we worked off of a 50% revenue or 50% cost share. That was what came in and then went away, was taken off the table and then brought in at the 11th hour. But now it looks like we're down to a different number based off of, I guess, cutting the hours 6 to 6 and then adding back in paratransit. This is a 12-month number, the 412. Okay.
So can I explain the jumping around a little bit?
Sure.
So kind of as Kim was speaking to your guys' budget year, right? You're a federal fiscal budget year.
Yep.
You start in October, go through September. The city's contract year is May through April. We are a calendar year.
Yep.
So I'm collectively fighting and kind of fighting the tides and riding the tides on the negotiations between multiple communities to work on these rates. I always try to work on the best rates for the community in which we're trying to contract with. That is something we always do. That is why you saw that change so much, was we were in our contract negotiations with the city that began in December of last year and ran through actually May of last year. We didn't actually sign a contract until June of last year. We were pulling from our reserves to stay afloat. So collectively, we had to fight with the city and argue with them and negotiate with them to get it to where we got it to with you guys, to get the contract as we have it today. And that's what we've continued to do, because it's now written in the contract what an enclave agreement is, which had previously not been there. And so that was part of the challenge of working through this. But the number you see there is what's locked in place now.
Okay, so the enclave agreement is what Kansas City has decided that enclave cities should pay.
Correct.
Okay, and that's being sent to us just for us to say yes or no? Since it's written in stone in the contract with Kansas City, if we try to negotiate that number, there's not much for that.
We could try to negotiate it with the city, but there's no guarantee. It's a multi-party agreement at that point.
Okay, that helps, thank you. Okay, fixed route, now let's look at the couple options. We've discussed zone to zone versus curb to curb. It's been pitched as point to point, which I think was our big sticking point when we spoke directly with Iris, is that we want a curb to curb system. We want to pick up at somebody's front door and drop them off where they're trying to go, not pick them up at CVS and drop them off at McDonald's to go to the hospital, that sort of thing. So initially when we got the email, we were given two options, and both were couched in the curb to curb option. The one car and the two car were offered as curb to curb, one being maybe less service. Then we had the discussion with you guys where it was made clear that the one car would not be a curb to curb solution. The trouble I'm having now is conceptually they're being pitched as one vehicle, two vehicle, and this is more for public. You know this stuff. There's a pool of roughly 30 vehicles that Iris runs, and it can flex up and down given demand. We would be, in effect, adding one vehicle to that pool, not dedicated to North Kansas City, but one vehicle into a pool for the first option, and then two vehicles into the pool for the second option. And these are being pitched as vehicles because that's just a concrete thing we can look at. Really, it's just dollars into a big pool of money to run the service. And I'm struggling because it's such a large difference, right? It's a $200,000 difference to be able to get people from their door in a city as small as 4.5 square miles. It just feels like a big jump. But what our people want is curb to curb. That's what we've learned. So it's really going to be between reinstating the minibus and going with a two-vehicle solution, in my head at least. And then that brings me down to the last piece, which is the flex bus, which has been kind of the golden cow that people have missed very much. But if I remember correctly, at the last contract that we had with the flex bus, it was around $275,000. Do we know what that number was? It's jumped a lot. It's up. Do we know why it's gone from the mid 200s to almost 400,000?
No, from my understanding, it is a jump because of the 5% increase and the fact that the one vehicle having to change shifts and the scheduling that we have to do with it and paying for the separate app and the dispatch, because it has a separate dispatch for the minibuses, is why it is at that rate.
Okay, and would we be the only city using that?
No, there is still a two. Is Raytown continuing?
Three still. There's Raytown, there's South Kansas City. Yeah. Sorry, besides that one, there are three currently active flex zones. There's Raytown, which is shared within Kansas City and Raytown city limits. South Kansas City has its own flex zone, and there's also a flex zone up by the Berry Road area. That's still active.
So those are the three flexes. Is there any efficiency to be gained by using, like, all the cities are using that same dispatch?
Yeah, you would only be paying a portion of the dispatch, not the full dispatch.
I got you. And that still gets us to the $400,000?
It is 7 days a week, 12 to 18 hours. Yeah, it's a big labor cost.
I see. Okay, those are my questions at the moment.
Here we go. Further questions. There, Councilmember Clark.
Your grant applications, I think I looked up loosely, for KCATA, do those then get filtered down as far as overall cost, all the grant applications that you're applying for? I think there's like some Build Back Better transportation applications for KCAT. public transportation?
We have dedicated funds, 5307, 5339. These are kind of the program numbers that FTA uses. Those come to us every year, and those are what we use to program into our fixed route fleet in order to reduce the overall cost to the end users.
So no new ones. For some reason, I thought there was an application for some additional funding.
Well, there's always applications for discretionary funding. But the legislation title, the Build Back Better or the Build America Infrastructure Act, that is just a new name for an existing transportation bill that's been around for 50, 60 years. It just changes every 5 to 6 years with new legislation.
But that just filters down to everyone.
Yeah, it's based on population, is how it's usually distributed to each regional community. And we're the direct recipient for those funds, and then we program them appropriately throughout the region.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Further
This question might be more for the Transportation Committee, but just looking at these numbers here, I have concern that, if I'm understanding this correctly, picking the fixed route and then between one of these two services would be roughly double what we have budgeted for fiscal, there's a difference in fiscal year ends, but for a 1-year period, effectively. Did the committee look at if it would be feasible or what it would even look like to run either just the Iris or just the Flex bus without the fixed route?
Yeah, we did. We looked at Iris only, which is what Gladstone has gone to, and we've looked at it as a 1 or 2 vehicle solution. If we were to cut out fixed route, which is a big expense here, the ADA paratransit would be an open question. If we kill fixed route, do we still get the ADA paratransit, which is a pretty important service? The second piece is we would need to go closer to a 2-car solution. And even with that operating, we looked at departures and alightments, I don't know if I'm saying those words right, okay. We looked at those, and it's a big number. So we would have to fill a pretty large gap if people were to be dropped off at the edge of North Kansas City, coming in or going out. We would see a lot of cars trying to run to pick them up, especially at high times. So it would be a tricky one to navigate if we were to go that route, if we were to nix fixed route.
I also make a clarification point. Just so federal funds, 5307 funds, also would be applied to flex services as well, operated by the KCATA. But as you talked about with the services that would need to be picked up of ridership on the 201, 238, it is significant. It's they're averaging about 7,000 on the 201 a month and about 5,000, 6,000 on the 238. So it's about 20% of the total ridership of both those routes are occurring in North Kansas City.
What was that percent?
It's around 20% when you average the two together. The 238 specifically, a very significant portion of that ridership is inside North Kansas City limits.
And is that, okay, 2 questions on that. How are we counting those boardings and departure or alightments?
Our boardings and lightings are counted using automatic people counters.
Okay.
They're an industry standard that tracks it when people enter. It scans, or it basically breaks a laser that counts them.
Okay. So a little laser beam when somebody gets on.
Essentially, yes.
All right. And then 20%, do you guys know offhand what the total cost to operate the 201 and the 238 is? Like, what is that totally? You mentioned that the max was 10 million. Do you know what we're talking for 201, 230?
I can ballpark it for you. You're about $2 million each route.
$2 million each route?
Your local routes that are about 30 minutes can be 2.2 to 2.5. 1 hour headways on the other is going to be about 2 million flat.
Okay. All right. And you said the federal funds could apply to the flex?
Historically, yes, they have, and they would again.
Okay, and there and Kim said estimated at 33% of total.
That's something I have to check with our CFO. I would assume it'd be about the same.
Okay, doing some math real quick. Of the two, okay. So, Councilmember Schneider just did the math I was trying to speedily do, and so it's at 30% off of the combined fixed and flex bus. Comes to 565, so rough amount, and that's annual. And we've got 505 budgeted annually, remaining for this fiscal year 445, 873. So Bryce, what if we gave you 445, 873? Could you run us some buses?
We'd have to confirm with our CFO to see if that works in our budget. I do want to add, though, just looking at the current IRIS ridership, is that with IRIS being an intercity system, you have significant Iris ridership that is leaving North Kansas City or coming from out of North Kansas City into North Kansas City.
Right. Oh, I agree. Trouble being right now, I'm not understanding the paradigm of the 2-in-1 vehicle and the value add for us. We would be paying a lot of money for people to be still coming and going in and out of our city. We'd be picking people up, and the dedicated flex bus is dedicated to us. If we're paying these kind of numbers, I think I would like to see a dedicated vehicle for the people that they can know is going to get them where they need to go. I love the idea, the concept of Iris, but I think when we chatted last, it was $43 per rider. Is that right? What was that number?
Yeah, I was looking at the numbers for y'all. You guys are now about 31
Okay.
per rider
31,
for your area. Yeah.
which is a lot. I don't have the numbers on what the minibus would be per rider, but it would be worthwhile to compare those, I guess.
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, roughly.
All right.
Probably not, but yeah, we're
Just to start to circle this around a little bit, I guess the ultimate question for council that they need to consider, does council want to move forward with the ATA? And does that include fixed route? And yeah, no, we still have time. Does that include fixed route? It'll be yes, no on that. And when it comes to on-demand, do you want to look at an Iris? Do you want to look at a flex route service? Or reject it all and go back to the RFP process, I guess would be the other alternative as well. Councilmember Stokes.
I'm not prepared to answer that question. I just wanted clarification from Kim. That 505 number that you gave us, was that total transportation budget that we budgeted, or was that just bus?
There you go. With that, does council want to continue on this path with KCATA? Councilmember Snyder.
We had looked at other companies as well, so I would just say, as we were looking really closely for people that weren't in the committee meetings, to make any of those work financially, we were going to drop the fixed route. And the fixed route, Kim has these numbers, and he said it, but as far as picking people up, broken down between how many people get picked up here in the city and how many people are being dropped off here in our city, the numbers were much, much higher than we had originally thought. So it started to become clear that if we got rid, I mean, it was already covered, but if we got rid of the fixed route, we're bringing in people for shift work, and we're going to have a hard time with 2 floating cars or 1 minibus getting people from where they need to go off the fixed route where they drop off to where they need to go all at once. But that was the planning all along, was to get rid of it. But financially, if I'm looking at the 2 questions that the mayor posed, financially, if we're going to make this work close to what we budgeted, then we need the federal money. If we're going to keep the fixed route, then we need that federal money, I think. And my vote would be the minibus that's dedicated to North Kansas City, because my fear all along with the 2-car solution is that in peak time, we're not going to have anything right here in our tiny spot to pick up people, and we're going to be spending the same amount as having a vehicle that's dedicated.
Councilmember Todd.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and piggyback on that and say I agree. I like the idea of the flex bus. We had multiple people coming with issues with Iris already, with missing rides not showing up, not dropping off curb to curb, and I realized that might have been an issue with not having the additional vehicle. But I think it's just already, there's a sour taste in people's mouths right now, I think, with Iris, and it's hard to undo that. And it seems fiscally responsible to do the minibus, especially if we can also use federal funding for that.
Further councilmember comments? Councilmember Fitzgerald.
After hearing that information, I'm going to agree on the minibus too. We tried Iris. It didn't work. The minibus was working. I'd be in favor of going back to that.
Councilmember Stokes, I think it was, yes.
Yes, I'm in agreement as well, and I don't know if we need a motion or what you need from us, but.
Yeah, well, Councilmember Smith, and then we'll jump on that next.
Yeah.
Unless someone else has something else.
So I come back to the discussion we had about the fixed routes. So we're an enclave city. The buses are going to run through our city one way or another. It's whether or not the doors get opened and people can get on or off. And to that end, there's not the additional cost to the system of anything specific with the flex route. This is just a conceptual idea that Kansas City wants us to pay the fair share, or the fair share doctrine, I think they've called it, or the enclave situation. But I think because with the grants available and the percentage potentially off, we're close. Like, we've got 505 annually budgeted. The annual cost at these numbers minus a potential of 30% in grants comes to 565. And we're not far off. If we can shave off some of the costs, no, where you at?
So this is cell phone math.
Okay, hit me with it.
If we, and I applied a 30% offset, not a 33,
Yep.
to both the fixed and the minibus.
Yep.
For what is the remaining 9 months, I got 423, 829.35, which means I have a remainder in my budget of $22,043.
Yeah, so I'm looking at 12 months. So I just took the 412 and the 395, added them together times 0.7, and got 565 for an annual. Yeah, of course. Like, we can, but just for ease of the discussion, if we're looking at we have 505 annually budgeted. So if we were to consider that looped around, we're $60,000 off. And if we can take an annual number like that to the board and say, this is what we have. We've run the numbers. We've looked at what it's going to take not to bankrupt our transportation fund, which is really the goal here, is to not bankrupt and to get people where they need to go. And I think we're all on the same page with that goal. We want to keep the system running. And if we can get to that budget number, I think we've got something that works. We're back to running fixed routes. We're back to having curb to curb with the flex bus. I just don't see us getting all the way up to like a 565, or even, especially not the numbers we're seeing here. Is that something that we can take back to the KCATA board and discuss that? Whether that means bringing them here to talk with us or taking it back to your CFO.
In the process of answering that, can you run us through the calendar basically for the rest of the year as well with your meetings? Because we're out of contract at the end of this month. And I know as a council, our next meeting's on the 19th. What would a process approval look like in the ATA world?
Yeah, so all great questions, great conversation today. Our meetings for the rest of the month, or I guess the rest of the year, my goodness, it's already here. Yeah. December 12th is our Finance Committee, which is what this would go before, and that's December 12th. And then, of course, on December 20th is our board meeting, so one day after your next council meeting.
So we would, unless we call a special meeting, would probably need a contract on our next agenda on the 19th to get approved to get to your board on the 20th would be the calendar flow there, I think. Right? Because you take it to finance.
Yeah,
then
so
that would bring something back to us that we should be.
Correct. So on the 12th, if all goes well, it goes on a consent agenda. So with your approval, it would just trigger automatically on the 20th.
Yeah. On the 20th. So you're saying if we pitch it something, you take your finance, bring it back to us on the 19th. If we approve that, it goes on consent?
Well, we'd probably put on consent on the 12th, contingent to your approval on the 19th.
I got you.
Which would put us on the 20th to go straight through.
Which means we have to have something to you before the 12th.
Usually the Friday before is by noon is when I have to have things turned in to publish them, put them out.
Yeah, which means for us to have something to you, we got to have it now,
Today.
like immediately.
By the end of this agenda item would be great.
That is where the crunch comes in.
Noon
so-
Friday at the latest.
Hey, yeah, unless we have a special meeting, this is it.
Let's knock this out now.
Yeah, let's knock it out. I mean, I can make a motion. I mean, are we trying to do an annual or trying to do a 9-month contract?
Okay, what do you got? Councilperson.
12 months?
12 month.
Okay, because we don't have the next budget yet. Like, we have budget for 9 more months.
I think we do the 12 months so that we don't have to go through this again, and 2, I don't think our fees are going to be less.
Okay.
based on inflation.
That makes sense.
So now we've had some discussion. Basically, we can pitch you a contract and you'll take it to finance and.
I can take it to my CFO tomorrow morning.
Okay.
If you have something that you have an idea what you want to do, and then we can have that conversation between now and before I turn my thing in by Friday.
Okay, so this is sausage making at its finest. All right, if we went with our budgeted authority and said $505,000 for fixed route services as listed there and curb-to-curb flex bus services, we would contribute $505,000 over the next 12 months. KCATA either makes up the difference or finds the grants to fill it in. That's where I'm at.
Second.
I mean, that wasn't official. Should I make that as an official motion? Okay. Yeah, talk slower or write it out for you. Okay. Okay, I move that the city offers $505,000 to cover fixed route services and curb-to-curb services via the Flex minibus for 12 months. I don't know, like the rest of it's probably unnecessary with grants to be acquired by the KCATA. Do I need that in there? I mean, does that need to be, they just figure out the difference? Yeah, probably not necessary. Okay, skip that last part. You want to read it back?
The city will offer $505,000 to the KCATA to cover fixed route services and curb-to-curb services with the Flex minibus for the next 12 months.
Save $800.
Now, let me ask. So, but the contract says, and will continue to say, that you will run those services until the dollars are exhausted. Or something to that effect.
Oh, yeah, is that still in there?
I believe
It was in the last one, because I asked about it, yeah.
Is that not a thing anymore?
No, that is still in there, yes, but yeah.
Okay, we would ask that's not there. I mean, I know it's a thing that you can't just guarantee you'll keep running the bus, but like that's a tough one, because if we hit 6 months in and we've run out of money.
We're budgeting right now. We know our costs, so we can lock in for the next year. We are not looking to increase service. Our rates for gas and fuel are locked in. Our labor rates locked in. I can't foresee why any cost would go up. So I think we can strike that line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we not need an agreement on the top line number, though? Do we not need an agreement on the top line number? Is that not?
No, our contribution to the total contract is $505,000. Yeah, and then whatever grants come hell or high water, the KCATA gets those and applies them, and then finds any efficiencies needed.
Here we go. You got that?
So do I need to put it in the motion to remove that section, or are you saying? Yes. Okay.
To remove the specific section, I mean, you're the legal counsel of the city. What do you think?
Okay, ultimately what we're doing here is directing staff to do whatever, so this isn't amending anything.
Are we making a contract or are we not making a contract?
No, we're not making a contract.
Okay, we're not making, Tom, you do your
Yeah, the contract
magic.
will come. We are giving staff direction on what we want to see on that contract.
Favored nation clause 2. This is a new contract.
Okay, will you read what you have one time here? There was a motion and a second, right?
Yep.
I didn't write it down,
Second.
so if you read it for me. This vote will be on.
I think I'm just confused. Okay, the city will offer $505,000 to the KCATA to cover the fixed route and curb-to-curb service with the Flex minibus for the next 12 months, and would ask for removal of the specific section in the contract that refers to until funds are expired. Is that what we said?
Exhausted.
I could pull the
Exhausted, I'm sorry. Not, I couldn't read my own.
I think we commonly know that what we're referring to, though. You know the portion.
It's old
It's-
language from a
Yeah.
previous contract. I didn't even know what's done.
Okay, so they know, okay.
Okay, and
It's there.
12 months starting January 1st, 2024. The next 12 months is a little nebulous.
And I guess I'll go in proper form here and make sure with the last little piece that there's still a second. Was there still, who was the second?
Second.
Still a second, though. Okay, since there's a little modification there. Motion, second. Further council discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. That takes the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Thanks, guys. Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Number 14, the public hearing, water and sewer rates. Is there a large presentation on this? You just want me to go over this real fast? We previously exhausted this topic several times. There will be a 7% increase in sewer rates and a 15% increase in water rates. That is due to the nature of both these funds being enterprise funds. So simply the revenue should cover their expenses, and that has not been the case for several years. So this is why there's these substantial increases in rates, is to try to catch those funds up as well. So there's the very brief explanation for several of these items. And I'm officially opening a public hearing right now. The public hearing. Do I need a motion for that, or I just declare that? The public hearing is open for the water and sewer rates. There you go. Given that, is there further staff presentation? I think that covered the gist of it really fast. Okay, now I will ask for public comments. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on water or sewer rates, please step up to the podium. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Move to close.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. The public hearing is closed. That takes me to item 15, which is setting the water rates for calendar year 2024, bill number 7816, ordinance number 9613.
It's setting the sewer rates, correct?
Number 15, setting the sewer rates for calendar year 2024, bill number 7816, ordinance number 9613. Thank you.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance establishing new sewer service charges, amending section 13.08.020 sewer charges of the code of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri.
A quick question. Does this still allow for, and maybe for Nick Hawkins, but does this still allow for like the averaging that happens in the winter? Yep. Okay, I just wanted to triple check. Okay. I move that bill number 7816 be placed on second and final reading and pass this ordinance number 9613.
Second.
Further council comments? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald? Yes. Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
An ordinance establishing new sewer service charges, amending section 13.08.020 sewer charges of the code of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri.
Item number 16, setting the water rates for calendar year 2024, bill number 7817, ordinance number 9614.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
An ordinance amending the code of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri by repealing subparagraphs 1 and 2 of paragraph B of section 13.04.140, water rates and charges, and enacting in lieu thereof new subparagraphs 1 and 2 of paragraph B of section 13.04.140 of the code.
I move that bill number 7817 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9614.
Second.
Are there councilmember comments? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Clark? Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
An ordinance amending the code of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri by repealing subparagraphs 1 and 2 of paragraph B of section 13.04.140 water rates and charges and enacting in lieu thereof new subparagraphs 1 and 2 of paragraph B of section 13.04.140 of the code.
Item 17, ordinance providing for certain medical marijuana. I did what we're trying to correct. I was reading my notes there. Number 17, ordinance providing for certain marijuana code revisions. Bill number 7815, ordinance number 9612. And if I recall, this mostly has to do with the amendment of the zoning codes from what was previously referenced as medical marijuana to now recreational marijuana due to change in state statute last year. Is there further things in this?
No, this one actually does not include the zoning code yet. This is the city ordinance.
This is,
Will not amend. It
the
says it
memo-
will not amend. This is what I
Right.
get for highlighting the wrong thing. It will
Because
not
that
amend the
goes through
zoning
a-
ordinance.
that goes through a different process, Mr. Mayor.
So this is all of the references to medical marijuana
is-
that is now recreational marijuana, except for zoning code ordinances, which goes to a different process.
That's correct.
If
There
I
we
can-
go.
I can briefly explain what this
Is
does.
there a motion? Okay, fine.
this, number one, cleans up our existing code to bring it into compliance with the passage of Amendment 3 that's found now in Article 14, Section 2 of the Missouri Constitution. It also, it would establish regulations that would be consistent with the limitations set forth in the Missouri Constitution. Primarily, it does three main things it regulates that we can do. It would restrict possession by individuals under 21 years of age. Secondly, it would restrict possession of recreational marijuana in amounts exceeding 3 ounces. And number three, it would restrict possession in certain locations authorized by the Missouri Constitution, okay? And there would be exceptions, of course, for those who have authorization for medical marijuana in those locations. That's basically what this does. You can see that was a pretty short description of a 12 or so page ordinance.
Beautiful.
But at the end of the day, that's what it does. And I want to express to you all of the help that I had in getting this done to Chief Freeman, because obviously they're going to be the ones that are enforcing it, and we wanted to make sure that it was something that both complied with the Constitution and was, in fact, enforceable here in our city. So if you have any questions, Chief Freeman would be glad to answer them.
There you go. Yes. I apologize. I'm stuck on the wrong item. I'm stuck on the zoning portion of this.
First reading.
There we go. Now we got that.
Do you have any answers for us, Chief Freeman?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance amending parts of Chapter 8.50 Health and Safety, Chapter 8.60 Marijuana Cultivation, Chapter 9.24 Offenses Against Public Decency, and Chapter 9.48 Drugs, Controlled Substances, and Paraphernalia of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
I move that bill number 7815 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9612.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
An ordinance amending parts of Chapter 8.50 Health and Safety, Chapter 8.60 Marijuana Cultivation, Chapter 9.24 Offenses Against Public Decency, and Chapter 9.48 Drugs, Controlled Substances, and Paraphernalia of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
Number 18, Seventh Amendment to land lease between the city and Atlas Urban NKC LP for Salt Barn property on Gentry Street. Bill number 7814, ordinance number 9611. I could just make something up on this item as well, unless someone else wants to say something factual here.
This can be faster than that.
Yeah, please.
It's for the salt barn, and we need it.
Beautiful.
First reading.
There.
Second.
I was going to talk about the airport. I was just going to make something up. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance adopting and approving Seventh Amendment to land lease by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri as tenant and Atlas Urban NKC LP as landlord for the lease of approximately .29 acres of land on Gentry Street between 12th and 13th Avenues in the City of North Kansas City, Missouri, and approving commercial agency and brokerage disclosure addendum.
Salt barn, we need it. I move that bill number 7814 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9611.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
An ordinance adopting and approving Seventh Amendment to land lease by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri as tenant and Atlas Urban NKC LP as landlord for the lease of approximately .29 acres of land on Gentry Street between 12th and 13th Avenues in the City of North Kansas City, Missouri, and approving commercial agency and brokerage disclosure addendum.
Number 19, approving accounts due and payable by the city through December 1st, 2023. Bill number 7818, ordinance number 9615.
First reading.
Yeah.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through December 1st, 2023.
Bill number 7818 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9615.
Call the roll, please.
Well, I need a second.
Second.
Didn't I hear that? Call the roll, please. We'll do it twice.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes.
Wheels
Yes.
coming off here.
Councilmember Todd.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember
Only a
Schneider.
few items
Yes.
left.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Yes.
All right, that was-
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through December 1st, 2023.
We'll just skip to number 23. No, staff comments. What do we got?
The only staff comments we have tonight is Director Sands.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We just wanted to bring awareness in case there was any questions or concerns about the 23rd and Swift apartment complex construction project has requested a few road closures adjacent to their property. So they have requested, the first one is a closure of southbound Swift from 25th to 23rd Avenue. They did this originally kind of the beginning of the project. It diverts southbound Swift to 25th Avenue, over to Buchanan, and back to 23rd Avenue. They've requested that be a closure of 10 days to finish the work for the curb and the parking lanes adjacent to the roadway there. They are requesting that to start this Thursday if we have no reservations for it. Sorry. Oh, yeah. No, yeah. After Swift is reopened, they want to do some work on 23rd and also on Buchanan. There's some stormwater crossings. They've requested that full closures, but we've asked to go back to maintaining two-way traffic. So there will be construction in the roadway, but again, they have to maintain full access and traffic during those projects. So.
Councilor.
Yeah, the only thing I have on that is if they're going to close Swift, just making sure that 25th and Buchanan are cleaned up, because there's debris and such that comes out of the construction site. Don't want any pop tires on those.
I don't think that's correct. Yeah. Thank you. Further staff comments? That's it. There we go. With that is council member comments. Councilmember Clark.
Just trying to be prepared over here. Thank you to Liz and Zach for speaking tonight. David and Julie, thank you for your words. Great job to the CAPS group presentation. Brandon, Molly, Luke, Delaney, William, shout out. A big thank you to the YMCA for the presentation, community partnership, and addressing social isolation. I love that piece. I saw the Terracon group today starting the borings as we crawl through these stages of the River Forest Park project and addressing erosion. Thank you again to city staff for keeping us on course, and I'll see you guys at next week's follow-up meeting. And let's hope KCATA takes our offer to exhaust our entire transportation budget for 12 months. And welcome to the EIC, Ryan Brooks. Thanks again, Councilmember Todd.
Thank you, Councilmember Stokes.
Once again, great job to the Parks and Rec Department. I felt like I was walking on the set of a Hallmark movie for the mayor's tree lighting this last Friday night, and looking forward to Winter Wonderland for children on the 9th. And great job to those that presented tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Todd.
I can't say anything that hasn't been said. It's a wonderful place.
Councilmember Saper, who come up with something?
To all those who will be celebrating Hanukkah, that begins later this week, happy Hanukkah.
There we go, Councilmember Schneider.
I just want to say I'm super excited about the new electric lawnmower, and I know that it wasn't a good fit when we first talked about it because of the different parts and attachments, but thank you for keeping that in the back of your mind as something that we wanted to do and plugging it in when it was a good fit. We don't want to waste money when attachments don't fit and it doesn't do the job. So thank you for keeping that in the back of your mind. Also, the CAP students did awesome. I was very impressed with their presentation and how they pulled the community together, how they thought through what a small community would need all in one space. They did a fantastic job presenting as well. The 23rd and Swift project has had many issues for residents in my ward and probably other people driving through the area. It is the messiest site I have ever driven through. And I don't mean just look at the mud that's on their site. I mean it's in the public right-of-way constantly. It has recently been cleaned up, so thank you to staff who has probably followed up on that. But I can't even imagine the emergency vehicles going through there because sometimes those barriers are pushed so far into the lane, I don't think my regular car is going to fit without running over the edge of one of those. So I think that's something we're going to have to stay diligent about, and I've definitely heard complaints from citizens that when it got super out of control with the mud and everything getting pushed into the right-of-way there. And then thank you to the committee members for working on transportation. We put in a lot of hours, and I know we came up here and we're like, well, we're back to where we were. But it was a long way coming around, and we crunched numbers over and over and over and dug through so many contracts. So I just want the city to know it was always our priority to make sure that we didn't strand anybody, that we got people to where they needed to go, and that we bring back a curb to curb, which we now know is the appropriate way to say from your address to the address that you want to go, was a real priority for us. So we're hoping to bring that back to you.
Councilmember Smith.
All right, the mayor's tree lighting was phenomenal, minus the part where the mayor tripped over the power cord and knocked the tree lights out. The cookies were phenomenal, and Liz's hat was even better. If you missed it, I'm sorry to say. RFP committee for the transit, pat ourselves on the back. We've been at it for a while. Hopefully this contract goes through, but as Lisa said, this has been about getting people where they need to go. And we've heard the feedback, and we've certainly taken that to heart. So thank you for all the people that have reached out and let us know how things are going. And if you haven't, consider registering to run for city council. The registration opened this morning, and currently Ward 2 is in the lead with 2 candidates, followed closely by Ward 1 with 1 candidate. Woohoo!
Thank you, Councilmember Fitzgerald.
I don't really have anything that hasn't been said already, but thank you to everyone that spoke. The Mayor's Christmas tree event was great. That was my first year attending one of those. I hope to go to more after seeing what it was. And thank you to the RFP committee for bringing forward a relatively painless option compared to some past discussions.
Thank you. Councilmember Alvarez.
I think pretty much everything has been said, just to repeat, but the same thing. I was actually impressed with some of the things that the YMCA does. I didn't realize that they actually did quite as many things as they were involved in. Also, the Northland Caps that came, I thought they did an excellent job. Looks like they put a lot of forethought into that and effort. And I also do hope that we come to a favorable contract with KCATA. I think we've had a lot of negative results with IRIS, so I hope we can work something out with KCATA.
Fantastic, thank you. And I'll just echo what everyone else said. You know, you cannot put on a fantastic event like the Mayor's Tree Lighting without the hard work of our Parks and Rec staff and our Parks and Rec board as well, which I think between the two of them was working all those different booths. And so they put on a great event, as well as our Public Works staff as well, who helps set stuff up. So appreciate all of your work in getting that done. Everyone seemed to have a great time, and it was a fun night. So thank you. With that, can I just read it the way it's on the screen here? Items 23 through 25, consideration. No, Item number 23, consideration to request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a contractual matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610-02112.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Don't make me laugh before I read this. 24, consideration of request to hold and recess in an executive session is requested by the mayor to be held on this date on a real estate matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610-0212.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Nope. Oh, was that it? Okay, there we go. Item 25, consideration request to hold and recess an executive session as requested by the mayor to be held in this state on a contractual matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610-021-12.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
And with that, the live feed will cut off on Channel 2 and YouTube shortly. With that, there will be no further public votes or public discussion this evening. Thank you. And then I'm going to make up more stuff about a minute.